Hello everyone, I'm Nicole Spitler of All Designs Equine and welcome to my door. Today we're going to be making a red, white, and blue Memorial Day wreath that is the gift that keeps on giving because you can use it for Memorial Day, 4th of July, Veterans Day, and Flag Day, and actually every day. So let's just jump in and get started. We're going to be using a grapevine wreath today that I attached a piece of styrofoam. I just wired it on the back, but I'm going to show you how we can make this everyday grapevine wreath into also an equestrian wreath. So just stay tuned at the end and I'll show you how we can make this into a couple different wreaths. So as I mentioned, I have this styrofoam that I started with, and then we're just going to be doing an offset asymmetrical design as the design that I usually like to do. So it's going to be shorter over here with the foliage, and then it's going to be longer and hanging down this way. So we're going to build the shape, and pro tip, I like to use lots of different kinds of greenery, lots of different shades of greenery, and lots of different shaped greenery. So we're going to be having this long here, and I'm also going to be adding pheasant feathers at the end, but we're still going to build the shape with some very drapey greenery. Now I'm going to give you another pro tip is if you cut off your greenery and all you have is some very floppy stems, it is not going to be able to be pushed into the styrofoam. So I took a piece of wire and I just wrapped it around, and then I can push it easily into the styrofoam. So I'm going to put this long piece of greenery in here, and then I have some different shaped, different colored greenery. This is a nice soft green, and this is more a little bit more minty, and this is a little bit more rustic looking. So once again, I also had a very floppy piece of stem, so I added that wire, and that will make it easy to push into the styrofoam. Okay, so I also have some of this asparagus fern, which is very lacy and very pretty looking. And you can use, once again, whatever you like. I just happen to like this. It also happened to be on sale, even better. Also has different variations of greenery with the dark and the light. Another one of my favorite pro tips to give it a lot of dimension and make you look very professional yourself. So I'm going to, I have this written here so I know where to put the wreath so that you can all see it, but I might have to move it down and then I'll put it back up so you can see it. Now this has a little bit too much length here, so I'm going to chop it off right there, cut it off. And you know, a lot of times after I do a wreath, I will go back and thin it out, because if it's too blocky looking, it's just not very appealing. So if I add too much, it's really easy to take it away in this case. And obviously if you need more, you can always add more. So you can see the shape that I'm kind of going for here. And then I have more fern, and this is another softer green fern. And this has, the stem is a little bit thicker, but if I need to, I may have to add wire into this as well. Let's see, but I can maybe just push that into the actual grapevine. And you can get grapevine wreaths in many different sizes at any craft store anywhere. So, and they're pretty inexpensive, especially if you're going for just a round shape. They're probably only about $7 or $8. So this makes it like very easy, and you can have all your materials without having to necessarily purchase anything special. Although I will show you, as I mentioned before, how to make this into an equestrian wreath. I'm just going to turn that around and just keep building the shape. and this does not want to go in. We're gonna try to stick it in there. Okay. Then I'm going to add a little bit more asparagus fern. I love asparagus fern. When I was a wedding decorator, I used this all the time. It was perfect for weddings because it's very lacy and soft and romantic looking. So it was definitely a favorite back then. And I think I'll put some here. And also another pro tip is instead of always having the greenery flat, you can turn it so it gives it a more dimension as well. So I have some that are, it's flat like this, I have some that's hanging, and then I have some that is at a different angle. So that gives it so it's coming out towards you more 3D, and then flat to fill in some of the spaces. And then I'm going to add this, which is another favorite greenery of mine, and I get it at Hobby Lobby. I always shop between Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and Joann Fabrics. I wish I could find everything that I need at one store, but so far that has not been the case, unfortunately. So we're just going to build this over here a little bit more because it's looking a little sparse. This is where I wear gloves because glue is literally would be burning me to death. Okay, and then the last kind of foliage that I'm going to use is my favorite brown fern. And I know that's kind of maybe possibly strange for a red, white, and blue wreath, but this particular wreath is going to be a very loose variation on red, white, and blue, because it's not going to be, in this particular case, it's not going to be extremely red or extremely blue or extremely white. It's just going to be kind of a hint, what I kind of call like Americana look, which is a little more rustic looking, but you don't have to make it that way. It's all what you like. Okay, so now that I have the shape pretty much built right there, I'm going to put the focal point in. In this particular case, I'm going to use a burgundy flower. Okay, so this is why I say it's kind of like a loose take on red, white, and blue, because this is actually burgundy, and the white is going to be actually white, but it's also going to be like wood flowers that are like basically tan. And I'm going to be using some of the other white as these feathers, which once again, it isn't really white, it's tan. So I'm going to add the feathers in. And once again, I'm going to continue to build the shape. I'm going to put, now these feathers I got at Hobby Lobby, and these are actually in the flower section. Okay, and they're pretty cool. I like these a lot, and I use these often as well, especially for these kind of wreaths. And then I'm going to put one at like a 90-degree angle almost. Okay, can you see that good, I hope? All right, and now we are going to use this. It's almost like a fall kind of a, it's more like foliage, but it's, once again, it's tan. It's not actually white, but that is going to act as our red, white, and blue. It's going to be tan though. And if you want these bright red, white, and blue colors, just substitute. This is just a loose interpretation, and you can change it however you want. Okay, and once again, I have this mini cattail, and it is cream and a little bit of brown almost. We're going to follow the shape this way. Look and see. I often have to tweak these after I do them because I'm so short and this is so far ahead of me So it's hard to see sometimes. Okay, and here's a little tiny bit of a baby's breath that I'm just going to add into the background. I don't want this to be super, it's just going to give it like little flecks of light underneath some of the foliage, because once again, another pro tip is that if you can break up the greenery a little bit, it will be more appealing to the eye. You don't want your greenery to be blocky and one-dimensional. We want 2 dimensions and to look very 3D and interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put this last piece up here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to use a little bit of a different kind. This is actually also an everyday kind of a garland, and I just pulled it off the garland. I got this at Hobby Lobby, which is nice because it can look almost like a little bit of fall if you need it to, or it can look spring or summer depending on what you're pairing it with. Okay, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more of that coming down this way, and I'm not going to turn it flat. I'm going to turn it into this different angle so it's coming out more at us. Okay. And I'm going to be putting a rope bow here as well, but you can do a red, white, and blue bow. You can just not have a bow, because I kind of, you know, a lot of times I like it without a bow actually, but in this case I'm going to add one because my favorite bows are actually the rope bows, and that can be either rustic, but it can still be just any kind. It doesn't really have to have a theme necessarily. If you're an English rider, it doesn't really matter, because rope is kind of one of those for horses or whatever. But this is going to be a rustic grapevine, but I'm going to show you how at the very end to turn it into an equestrian wreath if you want it that way. If you do not, then you just leave it as is. Okay, so here I tied the strings at the end. I put knots in them because it makes it heavier, so it won't curl as much. And I also like just the look of it, but it does, it's functional too, because it, after a while, the strings will actually hang straight. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And now we're gonna add our blue. Bet you're wondering where the blue is. Okay, so we're gonna add the blue. Put that, we're gonna tuck it under, once again, changing the angle. This is the focal flower, so it's sticking straight up at us. This is a supporting flower, if you wanna call it that. Sort of like a supporting actress or actor. And it's very important, but we're not going to have that as our main flower. It's smaller, but it's still just as important, of course, because it is our blue. Okay, and I might have to pull this feather out because the feathers, I love them and I want them to be seen. Okay, so I'm probably going to add this blue flower. I'm going to anchor this actually here, so this will actually help to straighten the line of the foliage if I glue this here and glue it here. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And then I have a couple more little tiny, beautiful little burgundy flowers that I'm going to just sporadically add here. I'm going to pull them off and then just glue them where I want to glue them. So I think I'm going to put that one here. And, whoops, fling that over there. And then put that here. So if this wreath looks slightly different, it's because I've kind of tweaked it after, because I can't, like as I mentioned, I can't see it that well. So I usually hang it up and then I fix it if there's any other problems. Now, we're gonna be adding, once again, the quote-unquote white, which is our wood flower, and I'm gonna put that right here, another supporting flower. So here's another pro tip. You take wire or like a thick stem, and I'm gonna glue this in here, and this will add a stem to it and make it easier to glue into the wreath. Okay. There we go. And I'm trying to see what I want to do with this. I think I'm going to add another bigger one here, a bigger flower, and I'm going to actually add the stem into this as well because I need it to be, if I just push it in, it's going to go too far in and we won't even see the flower. So cut that off and push that into the styrofoam here. That just went through because I didn't let it glue very well. So that is the problem if you don't let it glue. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to add some more different kinds of wood flowers here. You can use, and I'm going to kind of tuck this one to give it the depth again, because if everything is also on the same plane, it isn't going to look very good because it's just going to be boring. Your eye's going to look at it and then it's going to see everything it needs to see and not continue looking at it. So we'll just tuck this in, and then I'm going to add another little flower. Maybe I'll put him here. Okay. All right. So for the finishing touches, I am going to use pheasant feathers. Now, pheasant feathers, you don't have to use it if you're interested in doing an English wreath, but I actually do a very popular English wreath with pheasant feathers because it's like, there are some people, even though fox hunting isn't pheasant hunting, but it's kind of in the same realm, and a lot of fox hunters like this kind of a look anyway. So I actually have a popular English stirrup wreath that has a lot of pheasant feathers in it, and it's an English wreath. Okay, so this is giving us, once again, this very elongated look. Now, as I promised, I'm going to show you how two different variations on this wreath. But as it is, it's gorgeous. You hang it on your door and you can use it either spring, summer, fall, or just pull it out on the days, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and so on. So if you want to leave this wreath and make it a little more equestrian, I have English reins here. Could be Western reins, could be dressage reins, although they're generally black. But this is what you can do with some of your old reins, is you just attach it and spiral it around and wrap it around. And that gives you one version for a very nice equestrian wreath. And then another version would be, instead of using the grapevine, you just use the lasso or lariat. So this is a very popular wreath that I sell in my shop, and this is absolutely awesome for this coming holiday. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear about it. And if you have any other ideas, I'm always up for new ideas for different wreath tutorials. And I'm going to actually give you a coupon code if you want to purchase this wreath or the lariat wreath. I have them available in my store and for 30% off, and the coupon code will be YouTube30. So you can go to my Etsy shop, and if you want to use that 30% off, feel free to do so. I will see you next time. and enjoy. Thank you.